welcome, Denis, DJ Broadband.
Thanks.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, obviously, we tell most people we don't take for granted when they come, but especially for you. Like, I know this is a very stressful time for you, so sparing the time to come and do this is very, very much appreciated. Thank you for making the time.
Sure.
Yeah, usually these things don't have structure. And for you now, you're my birthday. So it may be less structured. But okay. We are going to talk about a few things. So you're a musician. You're in music, right?
Yeah.
And this is the thing that, for me, is surprising. So when you are here at university, you're doing IT.
Yes.
You go to the US, do your master's in IT.
Yes.
And you do 2 masters. Then you come back a DJ. How does this work?
I've always had a passion for music. And when you remember when we were in high school, you remember I used one of those entertainment prefect, and I used to set up the projector and then the music system, and also one of those students who used to have like sneaking radios, the small radios to listen to music and sports. So my passion for music has come from when I was a little kid. I'll give you an example. I used to be a big fan of Capital FM growing up because it was one of the biggest stations then, and Sanyu FM. But I had a passion for Capital FM, like to listen to Alex and Daula. And I remember I used to have, we used to call them a Walkman.
Yeah.
So I could buy I could convince my mom to buy me an empty tape, and I put it in a Walkman. And then when Alex Ndaula, the DJ then, when he was mixing, I would actually record his mixes. And then actually, like when it was done, the following day I could listen to the mixes again. And you remember we had that thing of like you put a pencil in a pen and then rewind it. So yeah, that's my passion for music. It has come from so far away. It became more pronounced or more serious when I was in the USA. And I remember, I'd gone to the USA to study. And I remember a friend of mine invited me for a housewarming. And I asked the DJ who was playing, I'm like, hey, can you give me a few minutes? And I play some music. He's like, oh yeah, go ahead. So then I played music and people liked it, whatever a lot. And then there was a DJ, a Ugandan DJ. He's based in Minnesota too. He's like, hey, we have Kampala night in Minnesota. That is a night that that brings together all Ugandans. And he's like, I want you to come and DJ and open a set for me. So I'm like, okay, let me give this a try. So we go to the club and I still do good. Mm-hmm. And so we started doing Kampala night with that guy for almost like 8 months. And then during one of those Kampala nights is when a Kenyan DJ is called Shortleg. He comes for one of the Kampala nights, and that night, like I played good music, and he's like, "Can you come and DJ for me, like in downtown Minneapolis, which is like the city of one of the cities in Minnesota?" So yeah, he invited me. I still went and played music, and people liked it. That's when my boundaries opened from playing only for Ugandans to a diversity of people. Yeah.
Wait, how complex is this? The way you make it sound, it's like it's very, very easy to go on a party and you start playing and you start DJing. How hard is it to learn how to do that?
Actually, when I was in Makerere with you in Makerere, I think you are a night student. I was a day student. Evening student. So I actually used to play music at small parties, like in hostels, using a software called Virtual DJ. So I had an idea, like I just couldn't go and use someone's equipment without whatever knowledge of how things work. So I kind of had that experience from Makerere University. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. And what is this? What does this thing entail exactly? DJing, because for most people it seems like just playing a playlist. Is it more than that?
It's more than that. It takes a lot of practice it takes a lot of creativity. Anyone can play music, but how you play it and you entertain people, that's what makes you stand out as a different DJ.
I see. Do you want to go a little bit into detail with that? Like, for example, for you, DJ Broadband, do you have a style? Do you have a thing that when I listen to music mixed by you, I remember when you did the Jiko thing, it was obviously it sounded more than that. We went and played on on that thing, the turntable a little bit, but it's not like how you do it, right? Do you have like a style of mixing?
I'm a multi-genre kind of DJ. I play a little bit of everything, but my strength is soul music. What in Uganda they call it oldies.
Okay.
Yeah, that is my strength. I don't know. Everything comes out to the craft, that your art, you know, and the art comes with you being able to read the crowd. For example, there's some people I can look at and like, oh, this guy is around. He's come for the party, and then I'll play a song that I think will make him stand up and whatever, get to the dance floor. So
I see.
That's the creativity I'm talking about. And then in terms of like how you mix, that comes with practice. How you transition songs and all that. Yeah, you actually sit down and create time and play with those instruments before you actually go for a gig. I see.
Okay, so you're saying about the crowd now, for example, right? Yeah. If you went to say a party, are you interested in people who are dancing to keep them happier, or are you interested in making the people who are sitting to stand up? Like if say you're in Nexus, and then you're mixing, then you realize, this guy, Okuru Humphrey, he's sitting, but you know the guy likes 50 Cent. But then there are people who are already standing, who are listening to Jamaican stuff. Do you change to get the people who are sitting? Do you intermix so you get the people who are sitting to stand, or do you just focus on the people who are already partying?
The focus is on the people on the dance floor. But once in a while, you play that song that you think will carry the other person to the dance floor.
I see.
So DJing is not all about playing music. There is a lot of focus you put into what you're doing. Like you just do not DJ. That's why anyone can become a DJ, but what makes people bring you back or call you back to DJ for them is that craft that you put out there.
So how does this work for like radio people, radio DJs? Because the radio DJ doesn't see me, right? They don't know if I'm seated or if I'm what. How do they?
So now I'll tell you, there's different types of DJs, and there's this different types of DJs, but the normal person doesn't know. A radio DJ is not the same as a TV DJ. It's not the same as a club DJ. And then there's DJs who do like EDM. Yeah. So a club DJ is a DJ who feeds off the crowd. Like this DJ, like when you put him to radio, he's going to struggle because he doesn't have the crowd. A radio DJ, he doesn't have a crowd, but it's more like the difference is usually most of the times when you're going to, for example, do radio or TV, you kind of create like a playlist, you know, and you follow that. There's commercials and all that, so you have to pause and then play different songs. When you come to a club DJ, he'll just like feed off the energy. Like you don't create a playlist. You just feed off the crowd and you just play what the crowd is dancing to. So that's the difference.
I see.
And then TV DJ, you're facing cameras. There is some fear that comes with that, you know, but still you're going to come like create a playlist and you're going, and then sometimes the producer tells you what to play, you know, things like that. So those are the differences.
I see. And in terms of what? In terms of knowledge of music as a DJ, how much of that do you need? Because I imagine, right? I know some music, but only music that I'm interested in. But I imagine if I'm going to mix for people, and I put in some Kendrick Lamar and I see these people bored, I'll just call the crowd down. Like how much diversity of knowledge of music do you need to like?
That's where your creativity comes in. For example, if you go, I'll give you an example. There was a time in Minnesota, I was hired, and I was hired by people who love only country music.
That cowboy stuff.
Yeah, cowboy stuff, country music. These are guys in their 80s and, you know. So I get there and then, first of all, you're black guy. These are white people. They're like, is this guy really going to play our music? Something like that. So there is no way you're going to play 50 Cent for those guys. Of course, they'll be like, what are you doing, you know? So I had to switch it up and play the country music that I had. And then usually you focus on the top hits. As you're downloading the top hits, there is a chance that you play one song and it get everyone going.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So because that's also one thing that used to worry me is that whether if I'm to switch my career to becoming a DJ, I have to spend a good amount of my free time listening to music to understand what's hitting.
Right now, the internet has been helpful. There is Billboard, there is what, so you kind of get to know like what song is trending, and then you download that, and then of course you're also going to go back. For example, there is a website maybe about country music. Go there and look at their top whatever songs, and then also go back and like in the past, what were the hitting songs? So those are the ones you buy or and download and put in your playlist, and gets you going.
I see. And what about the shouting? Is that part of the DJ skill? Like, DJ Broadband.
There is every DJ has their own style. Yeah. Also, there is, for example, there's DJs who are good on the microphone. So good. I'm not good on the microphone. I just play music and people dance. There's DJs like Aluda in Uganda is so good on the microphone. Fully Focused in Kenya is so good on the microphone. You know. The part that you're talking about is called a drop.
Okay.
It's just more like an advertisement for people to get to know who is playing good, whatever good music. If you play bad music and you put your drop like DJ Broadband, and then people are seated, they're like, oh my God, DJ Broadband was such a boring DJ, you know.
I see.
But if you kill it, then they're like, who is that guy? Who is DJ Broadband? That's how people now go on social media and try to look up your name, you know. I've seen that happen a lot.
And do you think, because when I'm in the Chibara, sometimes the DJ can overdo it, the talking thing, or even functions. You know those guys you call to functions, and then they play like 3 seconds of the song, and then they go into some narrative, and then they play another 3 seconds of a different song instead of like letting the song play. Or when people stand up to dance, then the DJ interrupts with noise. But then there are DJs who do that very well, like. He blends the talking very well with the sound. Is that like also a thing?
Everything comes down to the creativity of someone. Just like I've told you, if I'm to DJ and use the microphone, you'll never come back to my party. Never.
I see.
Because I don't have that skill yet. But it also takes time to learn how to DJ and MC at the same time.
Okay, so this is a learnable thing. It's not like
it's not like it's like a craft of like DJing. You teach yourself, you know.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to teaching. I know you're self-taught, and from your narrative, you started DJing in Form 4 when you were stealing the other guys' mixes, the Capital FM guys' mixes. Is there a place to learn? If say this is what I wanted my son to do. Yes. How does that look? And I know, I also know like a big stakeholder in this thing. Right now, you probably have some of the finest equipment. Are you investing in any version of that, like DJ school or something like that?
I haven't actually thought about that, like to come up with a DJ academy. But yes, there is DJ academies all over the world, where like my son wants to be a DJ. You take them there. One I know in Uganda is called, I think, Gong Records. Gong Records, like they teach guys how to DJ. But coming back to your question, I haven't had that idea. But me, when someone comes to me and they're devoted to learn, I actually give them my time.
I see.
Even yesterday, I met some guy. He was using outdated whatever version of software for DJing. And I'm like, hey, why can't you learn how to DJ using Serato? So you can break out even more. Because you're going to find yourself, for example, MTV has given you a gig, like come and DJ like I did. You find they're using most of the DJs in the world use Serato. You know, you're not going to go and take your laptop and put in an auxiliary cable and then start DJing. you know.
I see.
You look so unprofessional, and maybe they'll never call you back, you know. So yeah, if someone gives me time, I teach them how to DJ. And yeah,
I see. That's the same thing we also tell people. So we tell people here, if you come to our studio, we'll teach you photography and videography. Yeah. But usually when they come, we just let them carry our bags, set up the tripods. They never get the chance to like learn the real stuff. Okay, they do, but most people, anyway, most creative stuff is you get people, promise them to teach them, but then you just want like an assistant to help you unpack the equipment. Is this very different from what you're doing? Do you need do you use people for?
No. Why I say I value my time. So if someone actually is valuing their time and dedicating time, then I'll devote time and help them out. I never I'll set up my equipment, teach the person, and then that person leaves. I never take whatever advantage of people.
I see. You know? But it could be a two-way street. Sometimes you need someone to carry for you the tripod. Anyway, so okay. So how long does it take? So I know it's obviously different from every person, but if I was dedicated and wanted to learn, how long would it take someone to at least not bore people at one party?
It depends on someone.
On the person.
It's how we were taught mathematics.
Yeah.
There were people who are good, they learn so fast, and then there's people who are so bad. So it depends on a person. And then also DJing is not just all about mixing two songs. You keep advancing. Even me right now, there's some things I can't do in the DJing world, and there's people who are so good at stuff. For example, like the scratching, that one takes a lot of time. There's people who take a week and they've learned a certain style of scratching. There's guys who take even 6 months. So it depends on the person really, and their dedication.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So in terms of the culture, right?
Yeah.
So one thing is obviously music is a big part of the culture anywhere, right? But in Uganda, music is a big part of the culture.
Very big.
Film, it's now starting to become part of the culture, right? Right now, I think social media is becoming a huge part. TikTok is becoming a very huge part of Ugandan culture. If you follow Masaka TikTok channels, you'll see what real Uganda looks like, right? But also, it feels like DJing either is trying to become part of that or is somehow part of that. Where do you rank DJing in terms of Ugandan culture? How much of people's influence in culture here? I mean, things that are going to influence how I live my life, right? For example, music, right? If I listen to hits, I listen to Nwaji, right? I'll have conversation. When I go to the bar, I find a random guy and we are both bored, we can talk about that, Nwaji, right? If we watch a TikTok thing, it's also a thing that can bring society together. We can talk about a joke that some guy made on TikTok, right? Film, the same thing. Not so much in Uganda, but it will be the same thing, right? How much of that is a contribution from DJing?
First of all, Uganda is a party.
That's
party
true.
Country.
That's true.
We're known for partying, and who makes the parties work? It's DJs. So DJs have a very big influence on the culture in Uganda in terms of music, and then also it has started paying. It has started paying real good. Well, depending on the place where you go, but DJing pays. It pays good, and that's why so many now the market is flooded with some DJ Kenneth, DJ Humphrey, DJ who previously your parents couldn't even allow you to DJ because they thought maybe you didn't go to school. But now DJs are educated and the pay is good.
Okay, how do DJs make money? That's also maybe a good question to ask. What are the biggest sources of revenue for DJing?
Weddings
or functions. Okay.
I'll give you an example. When I was in the USA, I could do a wedding for $1,000. So just imagine you have a wedding on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You're earning $3,000 in 3 days. Corporate America doesn't give you that amount of money unless you're having a 6-figure salary, So it pays.
I see.
And then, unlike in Uganda, in the USA, it depends on your experience, the following, something like that. that's how you determine the price. For example, like when I started, I used to DJ for $150 an hour. So
I see. Okay, so that's also the other thing. Like in the US, it's clear usually. People have like rates. So you tell someone, well, this is my rate per hour.
Yeah.
Right? But in Uganda, is it the same thing? Or in Uganda, they book you for the...
In Uganda, function? It's the event.
So you say, for this event?
For this event, I'll charge you this amount of money. There's nothing like, I'll DJ for these hours.
I see. And in comparison, in terms of pay, obviously the US is paying a lot more, but how do you contrast that? Is it like, does Uganda totally underpay in terms of DJ?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
I've just given you an example of someone earning $1,000 for one wedding. That is what? Almost 3.6 million.
Yeah.
To DJ for 6 hours. Here, someone is going to DJ and they're going to pay them maybe what? 300,000? 500,000?
I see.
And they've DJed the whole night since Ugandans party until 6 in the morning or 8, you know. So you're spending the whole time DJing, but the pay is so little.
I see. And I was talking, I have a friend, so it's almost the same challenges are the same we also face here with sort of filming and the studio work we are doing, right? Yeah. But I was talking to a friend of mine who does something similar in the US, who does photography in the US. And the difference for him is, okay, the contrast was making is, for us it's easier, for example, until recently when we started buying cameras that give us software as well. Yeah. We used to steal all the editing software we used, right? So the contrast was there because if the suite we have of software, for example, if he was to get it for free as well in the US, if he was able to, I mean, some steal, but most people choose not to. If he was able to get it for free, maybe his price would have lowered. But if he counters in all those things, you have to pay annually, say, for example, $300 for the editing software, $300 for the touching software, things like that. Yeah. It becomes an expense as well. It's not like an easy thing. So in the end, you have to pull your prices. While in Uganda, most people, I know people who have never paid for Photoshop, and they're the stars of the Photoshop pros who have never paid, right? We use Blackmagic here because we use a DaVinci Resolve. It comes with the Blackmagic cameras we have. So unfortunately, luckily we don't have to sell software anymore. But yeah, even us, if we're given the choice of spending $300, on a piece of software versus stealing. Yeah, that would have been.
Actually, I also have an Adobe suite. I do graphics part-time. Well, I did fine art.
Yeah,
so you remember.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. Like in the USA, for example, that whole suite, if you're to buy, well, everything has moved to the cloud. Yeah. You have to make a subscription.
Monthly. Exactly, monthly subscription.
So, you have to counter that into
the price.
You're giving someone.
I see. Yeah, and okay, so let's talk also about piracy in terms of like for DJing, in terms of music. How much of the music you mix for people do you pay for? Do you need to pay for that music? Like, I also don't understand I don't know if you understand the law, but me, I don't.
I'll be sincere with you. Most of the music, there is so many websites that can give free music, but there is some songs that you can't really get, and you have to buy it.
I see.
But there is so many websites out in the world where you can get music. And then there's a lot of converters. You get a YouTube video and then convert it to an MP3 and it becomes your song. It's not the right thing to do, but hey.
Yeah. And what about quality? So because we work a lot also in audio, most of this podcasting thing we do, a good chunk of it is audio, right? Yeah. In terms of quality of audio, doesn't it make a difference? Because for us, for example, if we were to publish our podcast as FLAC, right? Okay, for most people, it won't. If you have a good phone, if you have like a good iPhone, a good Samsung phone, you can tell the difference between like an MP3 and a FLAC for just one podcast, right? Yeah. The difference is clear. Does that also come out if you're mixing that? This is.
Yes, it does. But usually, like you said, an iPhone, your equipment bails you out. If a song is bad, probably you're gonna adjust you play around with the mixer, so it becomes more clear.
I see.
So it comes down to your equipment. It's what will bail you out. If you have funny equipment, definitely it will show that the song is funny.
Okay, I see. I see. Okay. Yeah.
Or sometimes if a song is bad and you hear something bad, that's when DJs use the trick of you put what is it called? An effect.
Okay. Yeah.
Like so you had to
I see.
But yeah, most of the songs are most of the songs are not that good, you know. After going through the converters and then you can't pay for what 10 million songs in your database unless you're a millionaire, DJ Khaled or whatever, you know.
Wait, so if you're subscribing to a service like Spotify or Apple Music, can't you use that music in your mix?
Yes, you can, but you need internet. And then, at least for the software that I know, Serato has an inbuilt whatever, like with Tidal, Spotify, and iTunes. Yeah, you can actually have like you can play music like online, you know. But when you do that, remember the software is taking up a lot of your memory, and then also the fact that the internet is on. That is consuming.
Yeah, and also sometimes you're in a wedding in some remote place where
and there's no internet, so it comes at a cost.
I see. Okay, let's move on a little bit now let's leave DJ Broadband and go to Denis now, the IT personnel, the security guy. So tell me this thing of living a double life like Batman. How are you able to balance your corporate life with your DJ life? Do these things contradict in any way? Do you have to stay up all night and then wake up early in the morning and go and live your corporate life? How do you balance that thing?
It comes to your discipline. For example, corporate life is going to be Monday to Friday. Then Friday evening, Saturday, yes, I'll be DJ Broadband. And then Sunday, it depends. If someone gives me a gig, why I say it comes to discipline. If someone gives me a gig on Sunday, and I know it's going to push so late and it's going to affect me on Monday, there's a high chance I'm going to turn it down. I can't do it. But if it's something like during the day, like a day party, you can do it and then still have your 8 hours of sleep or 6 hours of sleep, and then Monday you're productive.
I see.
So it's your discipline.
I see. And what does it entail? And I know we actually had a conversation about this earlier, but you're a man with many degrees. Yeah, it's now becoming a burden for you.
Yes, it is.
And there was a conversation on Twitter I saw early this morning about what's his name? Kahuma, Raymond. So he was making a video about dropping out of college, right? But he's a rich man's kid, so maybe his context is not very useful. But he was talking about the value of college. He's obviously it's a very common argument, but it's valid, right? That sometimes you have to know what you actually want. It's worth spending your time doing the things that you actually want. When I contrast this with your story, right? So you do a bachelor's at Makerere, you go do one master's, you go do a second master's, and then when you come back to Uganda, you're practically unhireable because you're almost overqualified for the majority of gigs. And I wanted you to first enlighten me about that.
So first of all, how I ended up doing the 2 master's degrees. The university I went to, the University of St. Thomas, I was doing my first degree, that was in IT. And then, the first one was in software engineering.
Yeah, software engineering,
So as I was doing my degree, I saw 2 very identical degrees. They had the same core classes and a difference of 4 other classes. So I'm like, wait a minute, I can add these 4 classes, that is 1 semester, and actually graduate with what? 2 degrees, and that's what I did.
I see.
On the same day, I graduated with whatever degree, so that's how I did it. In the USA, the more qualified you are, the more people look.
The more you potentially get hired.
In Uganda, it's been kind of tricky. I've applied to different companies that I won't disclose, where they're like, oh, we're looking for a supervisor, but your qualification is for a manager, or you're too qualified, or we cannot pay you, something like that. It's real. It has happened to me, and
And in terms of pricing, because also that's a very a thing to keep note of, right? In the US, I imagine, and I've worked for UNICEF, for example, where there's a very big gap between how much they pay an American. There's a big contrast in the US, for example, between how much they pay an American versus a Ugandan, in the UN rather, who does the same job, and their argument, I've never understood it, is cost of living. So when you come from the US, and this is your salary scale, when you say you're not getting the gigs, is it that when you apply and people tell you what is the expected salary, you slap them with I want 10K per week?
No, actually, you have to adjust. You have to adjust. You have to adjust your mindset. For example, like you said in UNICEF, they know the cost of living in Uganda is way cheaper than whatever in the USA. You know.
Yeah.
Like I'll give you an example of a 1-bedroom apartment. At least in Minnesota, it's like $1,200 US dollars.
Yeah.
Right. Here, $1,200 US dollars, you can pay rent and even service your car every month, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the difference, and that is in Minnesota. When you go to places like California and New York, a single bedroom apartment could easily be $2,500. So that is the contrast.
I see. Okay, yeah, no, so I get that, but I'm saying, when you're applying for like the job problem, right?
Yeah.
So when you go and send in your qualifications, what do these people based on to say they cannot afford to pay you?
I think I've come to learn, I don't know, maybe studying from abroad brings a bit of a scare. They don't know what to expect. So some companies do not even give you a chance, like to discuss like salary, and then your experience. You know, they're looking at you. They're like, shall we be able to afford this guy? Let's not waste our time. Let's just
cut him.
Cut him off. So something like that.
I see. And have you been called for jobs where it has been your decision to say no, this is too cheap for me?
Yes.
Okay.
It has happened. Yeah.
I see. And okay. So yeah, I'm again trying to understand whether.
And the reason it's not like I was saying you can't pay me this, but I was looking at the cost of. As you settle into a country, you learn. For example, where I stay and going to Gava every day, when you compute the cost of gas and basically the expenses, basically you're not making anything, you know. You're just working.
Just
working to spend.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this does not make sense. So I turned it down.
I see. Okay, yeah, no, that's a valid conversation. And in terms of like your career, like growing as a security expert, growing as an IT like expert as well, growing as software engineer like expert as well. How do you see this going from here? Now that you know like what is on ground in Uganda, right? How do you think? How do you think the next steps forward are going to look like?
I've always had, I would say, a creative mind. Remember when we're in Makerere, we just did IT, and really, it was more like theory. You had to do the practicals yourself, basically.
Yeah.
In terms of direction, there's a reason as to why I switched from development and automation to now cybersecurity. The way is cybersecurity because everything is moving to the cloud. So you have to be really strategic. So I saw that opportunity and I'm like, okay, Uganda, IT, well, I've interacted with people, but an IT guy is a guy who knows how to hook up a printer to, there is that. Unless you go to like big organizations, that's where you see guys who are doing managing databases and, you know, things like that. But yeah, the way is cybersecurity. Everything is moving to the cloud, and the cloud has to be secure.
I see.
And IT in Uganda it's like a virgin land.
Oh, I see. So you think it's not? Yeah, I know. For example, MTN has had multiple scenarios of mobile money. Is this like a thing that you think you're in position to solve for them?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And in terms of like,
and sorry to cut you.
No, go ahead.
I remember there was also another. I was invited for something like a talk, and one of the guys was sharing the experiences they are having here in Kampala about like still mobile money, and I'm like, how does this happen when you have a national ID and a SIM card registered in someone's name? Like in the USA, it's like before you actually even switch a SIM card to another phone, you have to go to the provider. So like in Uganda, right now, well, it's picking up, whereby you have to go to a service center and they give you a SIM card, you know. But your SIM card is tied down to your social security number, you know. No one else can use it. No one.
I see. And okay.
Makes sense, but
no, I see. But okay, so let me give you a scenario. Let me first explain to you how this works. How so first of all, it's an inside job. That is the biggest assumption, right?
I think, yes.
So first of all, it's an inside job. But also, I remember sometime back in the news, maybe a year or so back, there was a guy who was caught with like a bundle of IDs, right? So the other thing is people steal IDs. But the other thing also, there's a big market for SIM cards of deceased people, right? So in Uganda also, I remember one of the first jobs I did at UNICEF was making it easier for people to register deaths for URSB. Is it URSB? So I did the USSD functionality for URSB to do that. But one thing I know for sure is registration of deaths is like it's probably less than 40% in the country. People who die, if you make it to Mulago, if you die and you make it to the mortuary, you get registered.
Yes.
But most people who die in the country, you die, then you get buried. If maybe the LC follows up and they go to police and maybe write like a formal letter, that's once in a while thing, and may die even at police, right?
Yeah.
But there's a big market for SIM cards of deceased people. Yeah. So when people want to set up like this kind of haste, they have a chunk of SIM cards that they've already stored that they know these are going to do this. So maybe you've collected like 300 SIM cards. Yeah. What you start doing is now, it sometimes are not deceased. Sometimes you make a deal with idiots. You tell the guy, hey, blah, 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 I don't have a problem. Get from your SIM card in your ID, because that's very easy. Usually with for example, my young siblings who don't have IDs yet, that's what I also do for them, right? Sometimes you find a friend, you're like, you man, get from me what? A SIM card. My ID is lost. Get from your SIM card in your ID, things like that. And people sometimes, most of the times, they'll say, yes, okay, I'll do it. So you collect these SIM cards. And what people did was when they got a backdoor into the MTN thing, they channeled the money to these SIM cards with people stationed to withdraw. You understand?
Wow.
Yeah, with people stationed to withdraw. It was like a well-planned haste. I think maybe we should even make a movie about it. So when the money moved, people just, on their mobile money things, when you get the message, tell the withdraw person, this is how much I want. Say you go to someone is sending the money.
Yeah.
So everyone is stationed. You're stationed at 300, which is not by the unimaginable. There are very many kiosks. Those are mobile money kiosks. Yeah. So you're stationed 300 of them. Everyone wants to withdraw, say 1.2. So you come to a kiosk, you're like, do you have 1.1 to withdraw 1.2? Then if the person says, you find the one who does. But that's before the money has even been sent to you. So when everyone is stationed, the guy will call you and be like, what they will send you, they'll usually, I think they'll use something like Telegram. They'll be like, okay, me, I'm ready. So this guy in MTN initiates. As soon as initiates, you withdraw. So that man has left MTN because it has been converted into cash.
Yeah.
And when now MTN, when people say, oh, our money was stolen, blah, 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 our balances are not adding up, MTN now knows there are people. But now, since those SIM cards have been used for crime, these guys know for sure that these are used to be dumped. So when they try to follow up, blah, blah, and most of these things, they usually want to keep them secret because it's a reputation thing. But when they try to follow up, they realize, there are like 300 dead people, SIM cards that are still on, things like that. That's the kind.
Which is not the right thing.
Yeah,
Even if someone is dead, I mean, I think from what I know, that money, if it sits for long, it goes to Bank of Uganda, right? Yeah. And then someone has to claim it, like the next of kin or something like that.
Yeah, but in terms of like security, isn't this more of like, I know, okay, I didn't like focus a lot on security, but part of like what I did in software engineering as well was learning about security. Yeah. And the biggest flaw in like security, in cyber security, is social engineering. Me talking nicely to you until you give me what I need to pretend to be online, basically, right? And this is not, there is no like technical solution. There is no firewall. There is no like HTTPS thing that can cover this up, right? Yeah. This is like a person-to-person thing. What kind of like expertise in terms of security do you think we can use to mitigate this? Because most of the big crime is committed via social engineering.
It comes down to how you train your employees. Because most of the attacks usually come from either it's an inside job, and you know that.
Yeah.
For example, you said, I talked to you nicely. I've seen scenarios where, there's an organization I went to and someone let me into their server room. I'm like, are you kidding me? Something like that. And up to now, like, I know the technology they use. And as an ethical hacker, it takes time for you to get that whatever technology. But if someone opens the door, like it's a floodgate for you, it's like, I was like, hallelujah, I know all this information. I don't even have to use any tools in Kali Linux to get that information. So the best thing is usually training. Like things like social engineering, most of the people don't even know what social engineering means, whereby, come to the office and then you let the person sit and then you go get maybe some tea for them and then maybe samosa, something like that. You don't know what the person is doing and maybe you've left your computer open. So training is really important. And I don't know how many companies do it here, but
I see. You'll
train and train, but also the attackers are also thinking. They're developing new things every day.
I see. Yeah. Many places I've worked doing IT. Usually every now and again they hire like consultants to come and do like a security audit. Right.
There is also that. Yeah. That can be also helpful. But the biggest thing is within the organization. It starts from within the organization. A consultant is probably like you say it's social engineering. This is not something that is like technical. It's someone manipulating someone's brain. A consultant usually is just going to look at logbooks, like the infrastructure, itself, that's what they are consulting about. But they're not going to consult about social engineering. No.
I see. I see. Yeah, and the reason I was bringing that up is I was wondering, the alternative to like trying to get employed would be to start like a consultancy similar to that.
Yes.
Where because you have all the certifications basically, where you just be one briefcase, one-man company, you go and audit for people.
Actually, you just read my mind. After all this has been going on, I'm like, you know what? I have an IT company in the USA. It's called the ICT Web. So I'm like, how about I incorporate it into Uganda and then just be a business here, and I do consultancy. The challenge is with the, maybe politics, or like in Uganda, it's like, who do you know before you get like a service,
Yeah.
I've seen that, and that is a big challenge. So I don't know how to manipulate that, but eventually something will work out. I really want to bring the ICT Web to Uganda, because in the USA, it's still whatever working. I still have clients in the USA who are subscribed. I build them websites. I do security audits. So you don't have to be in the USA to work.
To do most of that stuff. Yeah, I see. So in terms of business also, right?
Yeah.
Because you have an IT company in the US,
yes,
but also you have like DJing business here, right? How do you manage to do you have any advice for business people? Do you have any insights into business you've seen that maybe would be good to share with Ugandans?
One thing I would advise any business in Uganda is go on the internet. The world has changed. It has shifted so much from man to man, like meetings, to the internet. You have a potential to get even international clients based off the internet. Yeah. And I'm glad some businesses are picking up. Like right now, you don't have to buy groceries going to the market. Just use the internet, and if someone is smart, like develop a portal where people can order for groceries and, have a network.
I see.
And then people deliver, That is something actually I've ever thought about.
Yeah, I see the trend here.
Just like Chukubu online.
Mm-hmm.
People don't have to go to Chukubu.
I see that the trend here though is people maybe are just easing into it. So initially, if you wanted to buy like nice groceries, You have to go either to Nakawa or Kalere or I think Busega, like one of those big markets, right, to buy stuff. But now those things have come closer. So if, for example, I say in Chanja, but if I'm to move around, there are kiosks that have like fresh food. And then if I still move to like the Kataun, there's like a mini big market that also has stuff. But most of the times now, I don't have to move. I just send a WhatsApp of the list of things I want to buy to my border guy, and he brings the things, right? So that would be like the equivalent. Maybe like the next step is going to be, I think Jumia does that, but Jumia, they get you supermarket groceries, which is very odd. But maybe actually they may be getting market stuff. I don't know very well. I haven't bought from them. But yeah, so maybe the next step will be, I just have like a thingy. There's a thing in the US they used to call what, Craigslist. Something like that.
Yeah, Craigslist, you can even buy soil. Like, people sell crazy things on Craigslist.
Yeah.
Shoes, like someone's like, oh, these rocks are this and this, and actually people buy them.
Buy that stuff,
Yeah. Laptops, like, it happens.
I see. So yeah, okay. In terms of business, I was talking about in terms of business. Like, so like for example, for us, a few challenges we've had is the unpredictability, the kind of business we are in. It's we also, I think, depend a lot on functions. We depend a lot on like those small things like birthdays and baby photo shoots and things like that to ramp up our business. But usually most people, we compete with people who have who have invested a good amount, right? Say for example, if you're going to shoot someone's wedding, right? That person would expect to have like the highest end cameras. They'll expect you to have like very nice lights. They'll expect you to have like that's 360 thing, the spinning thing now is a new thing.
It's a trend now. Yeah.
So that thing, all that stuff. If you add up just the amount of equipment you need to go for 1 gig, it could be like 20M, right? Okay, most of this is reusable, obviously. It's not like it's a one-time investment, but most people here are not willing to pay well. Right.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
Yeah. So, like, the reason I wanted to ask you this is because I've seen your equipment, for example, right?
Yes.
Yeah. For you, in order to be encouraged to invest in high-end equipment, really, really good equipment, and also studying the market, because I also know people we compete with who have like a cheap camera, who have like the slowest PC in the world, who have like a very old version of Photoshop, and these are people we compete with because that gets the work done. In the end, the client wants to look at the picture and be like, okay, this is a smile I took. I smiled at my wedding, and you captured this. That's the thing. So we have those, but we also have people who are like high-end event people. But most of these high-end event people, anyway, as you've said, it's know who. They are well connected. Most of these people actually invest depending on their network. So they know from my network, I'll be able to score MTN's corporate end of year launch, blah, blah, blah. I'll be able to score Ministry of Health getaway, things like that. So because of like the people they know, before they even like invest money into equipment, they've already anticipated how much business they're going to get.
Yes.
And then there's us who are like, okay, we love doing this stuff. Then we start investing and we say, let's go and fight.
Yeah.
And then there are people also who I think have passion, but maybe don't have access to the kind of money we have. Who are like, give me the cheapest camera, give me the cheapest laptop, give me the oldest software, I'll get the job done, right? And so like that is the diversity of the market. The struggle for us is how do we establish ourselves, right? We may not be Swans Avenue. We will, but not now. We may not be Swans Avenue today. But how do we establish ourselves to be comfortable as like a medium business? Same thing for you. Like, how do you like establish yourself to be comfortable as a medium business? So again, unfortunately, it's like a hierarchical world. Dog eats dog. So if we can't encroach on Swans Avenue's business, we also don't want a guy with the one camera to encroach on our business. But like, what is the best way to strategize in terms of inside businesses? I don't know if you have any, like, how do you strategize to make sure you're protecting your turf well and you're also aiming to get the guy on top or away from the top?
I think any business comes down to how you market yourself. For example, I'll use the DJ business. I sat down, I'm like, hey, I know how to build websites. I'm like, okay, how do I use that to my advantage? So I built myself a website and actually did a course in SEO, search engine optimization. And so then, I put on my website and then I use some of the tools like in SEO on the internet to market myself. And then I remember once I launched the website, within 2 weeks, I had people calling me from all over the world. People from Jamaica, people from Mexico. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Because of the Google ads that were going on.
Right, yeah.
All that is strategy of marketing. How you market yourself. You can have the best equipment and also fail to have gigs. And like you said, someone has an old school camera and they keep getting gigs. How they brand themselves and then do the work. Do the work because from that work, that is how someone is going to recommend you. That is how.
A good point. Yeah.
Like there's simple things. For example, before I came to Uganda, people knew DJ Broadband.
Yeah.
But I'd never played anywhere in Uganda, and then people started buying whatever my T-shirts, hoodies, and all that. Everything comes down to marketing.
I see.
I'll give you an example how I got internet at my house. I was driving in around Nigeria, and I'd stop to get groceries, and then I find this woman. She's giving out cards about an ISP. They provide fiber to the house. So then she's like, do you mind giving me your number? I'm like, I don't mind. Like she took down the number. The next day, their team calls me. They're like, hey, we got your number from this and this, and would you be interested? These are our packages. And I got sold into the idea. And I'm like, come and do what? Do the job. And that's how I got internet. So how you market yourself?
How much percentage of investment do you put in marketing? Percentage of what you invest in your DJing business, how much of it goes to just marketing?
I would say maybe 40%. Yeah. 40%, and then the 60% goes to the craft
operation. Yeah.
Like the operation itself. You do like 40%. You advertise yourself, and then people start calling you and giving you business. Nice. And that's how you also get the passion to buy new equipment, the latest equipment. And people do not realize it's also just buying that equipment. That is advertising yourself. What the G League, how many speakers did I come with?
Yeah.
Only 3 highs and 1 bass. And the place, the sound was okay.
Yeah, it was well sound.
So people have moved from, you bring a pickup of speakers and then an amplifier and, all that. So when you do that, like for someone, they're like, man, this was clean, like simple equipment, but the sound is good. That is also marketing right there. And that's how also Masava Yunus, I think he runs that place. He's like, man, how much does it cost to hire these speakers? I'm like, they like this. So,
businesses, I see.
Nice. You have markets you, and then also having your word out there. Social media, like also having a website. You tell someone, go to this website, djbroadband.com. They see you there, and then they scroll through. They're like, hey man, the guy is professional. He'll do a good job.
I see. Yeah. Okay. And how often do you upgrade your equipment? For example, for us here, every week, some guy is going to come up with a camera that does 20K. And now, like the camera you had, most of our cameras now, I think maximum resolution is 4K. But then some China guy is going to come up with a camera that does twice as much resolution then. And then people are going to be like, when you want to shoot some guy's video, be like, you guy, I was passing the other guy, they told me there's now an 8K. I want 8K. And so you have to think about it's like phones. Cameras have become like phones. Almost every year also you have to upgrade. For audio, how often does that happen?
So in the DJ industry, if I'm to use that, equipment rarely changes. There's so many competitors, but equipment like mostly that I use
they're doing the same stuff.
Pioneer is a big player, and then Newmark. Rarely do they change equipment. And if they change equipment, they're probably going to whatever, change a sound card, and then maybe add some functionality on like maybe a turntable or something like that. But equipment really never changes. And also when it changes, it depends on your money muscle. Because the more it changes, the more expensive it gets. But me, I believe China has solved a lot of issues for us. They give you technology that is cheap, but how durable is it? That is the question. That's me. I invest in high-end equipment, and usually what I do is when there is an upgrade of something, I usually first sell off what I have and then upgrade to the latest. Or in case I really like the equipment, I'm going to keep it and then just simply use money and then buy the latest equipment. Yeah,
I see. Okay. Because
that is from the DJing side. But on the IT side of things, if you have heard of the Raspberry Pi, also those don't change that much, So like I've had one that I use to whatever for my hacking labs, and I've had it for a long time, so I don't have to like really
modify that
and buy because something new has come up. It does the job for me.
I see. In music, so one of the things, for example, here, right? One of the trends globally is everything is going tech, right? Yeah. So we are doing movies here, but every now and again we talk about how we want to make this. So, for example, we have like a project in the pipeline for because part of our biggest business is people who do podcasts, right? So something similar to what we do, but most of people who book our equipment are people who want to do a sit-down conversation podcast, like this. And we are now looking for investment, but we are like in the process of making this a product, like an IT product, right? Yeah. Where we have one studio, we get a studio room, a well-designed studio room. We set up cameras in the walls and whatever. And then we have an app. You come and book time on the app. You come with one producer and one person who's going to be in the back, who's doing that. They can do that on the phone. So we are trying to build that as well. So most of for example, what Humphrey is doing there is selecting what the guys on the live screen see. So he's using OBS to select whether they see me or they see you, basically, right? Yeah. So we want to do that for like maybe 3 or 4 cameras, so people can come and do that, and we sell that as like an app. So you come to our Uvotam app, you book podcasting time, then you have to go to the studio. Unfortunately, we can't virtualize that yet, but you go to the studio, you sit. Then you sit with your person. Your person has their phone because they have the app installed, and then they just basically do the production for you, the producing for you. They select what part is going, what part should be broadcast, what part shouldn't. And if you want, you can stream live. And if you want, still you can go with like with a unedited, live edited cut of your podcast immediately, and then you can like that. That's one of the things, but the whole idea, the sort of the bigger picture is we feel like everything we do, music videos, films, whatever, it has to somehow fit into the tech ecosystem. You have to survive for the future. And I'm wondering whether, when it comes to DJing, because I know for the other version of the business, it's sort of supposed to be tech. But when it comes to DJing, have you thought about how DJing can fit into that kind of ecosystem, like tech on demand thing, Uber-ish thing?
Yes, actually, I was... someone shared something. I was having a conversation actually, and there is a guy who has started something that is really interesting. So as he's playing music, I don't know how he connects with the artists, but when he's playing their song, the artist is actually like doing something like dancing and like live. So I found that like really captivating,
Oh, I see.
So it comes down to tech still.
I see. Yeah,
but that is one guy I know who has that kind of thing. I don't know how he gets. It's like how you play, maybe Chameleon song, and then actually Chameleon is
that's a selfie at his home.
And he's dancing and then incorporate it like I don't know how he does it, but
that is dope. I see.
So everything comes down to tech.
I see. Like tech entertainment as well. I see.
And then of course IT. I told you. Everything is now going to the cloud. People don't have to People don't have to buy computers like anymore. You just call Amazon, you're like, provision for me 50 computers, boom. You have virtual machine set up within 15 minutes. You've saved time, you've saved the electricity, boom. You guys start working.
Yeah.
So.
So let's transition it a bit to your to mildly personal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is a thing though. I have one of my sisters came back, but I have one sibling who lives in the UK, and I know this is a very common Ugandan thing where people who don't live in the country feel a lot of pressure, right? Either when they are, say, when in the US, there's a lot of pressure from maybe friends or family they expect financially a lot more from you than maybe you're either willing because you have your stuff to do, or even capable of because you have like real needs to meet, right? So how does that apply to you, like in terms of your personal life? Is this something you've experienced where?
Yes, that is something that I experienced when I just moved to the USA. People do not realize that the cost of living in the US is crazy, compared to here. But like you said, people are expectant. They think you're making a lot of money. But for you to be able to save from what you're making, you need to have good discipline. And actually, I thank my parents for taking me through the schools I went through, because they gave you that pocket money and you had to budget and survive on it until they came back on visitation, So I use that analogy, at least to be able to save. But when you talk about like, hey, send money to me, or some even lie to you, and that is the most hurting thing. Like someone clearly lies to you and you send them money and then you realize they lied to you, But it has happened to me. People are expectant whenever you go abroad, whichever country, people are expectant of you having a lot of money and not realizing that you actually pay a lot of bills and, and you pay a lot of bills, and I don't know, we have different personalities. Some of the things people do is what affects some of us. For example, in the USA is built on credit. Everything is credit. You can, like, I can have a friend and he goes to a dealership, you get the latest 2020 Mercedes-Benz at zero down payment, and then you start making payments, in 2 months, So if I'm chilling with that friend and maybe he's posting on social media all the time, people are going to think that I have a lot of money. But in actual sense, I don't have like money. I'm working off credit, You're getting a car of almost 100,000 US. I mean, you're driving it until you fail to pay. That's when they'll take it. But as long as you're paying, you spend maybe 3 years, depending on how much you put whatever back to the bank. And, you take all the crazy pictures and show Ken, hey man, I made it in life. What is Ken going to think? Ken is going to be like, man, the guy has money. They do not realize it's credit. Unlike in Uganda. In Uganda, if you don't have, you don't have. No one is going to lend you a car with zero payment.
I see. And okay. So one thing, in order to mitigate this, do you think it's better to like not be on Instagram, to block everyone on Instagram?
No. I didn't say that.
I'm just asking.
No, you don't have to block whatever people. I don't know. It's a hard, because we live in such, sorry to say, a miserable life where everyone is working. Work, home, run errands, sleep, work. I've seen that like happen so many times, whereby I want to meet like my brother. We're in the same state, different cities that are like maybe 25 minutes away from each other. But I call him, I'm like, hey, can we meet for maybe something? And he's like, nope, I'm not available. When he calls me, it's like, hey, I want to meet you. Also me, I'm unavailable. So you find yourself like failing to meet each other with it could even be whatever, 3 months, 6 months. And, that is life. So you have to have that little social network around you. So you can't say, because I don't want to show people in Kampala that I'm making money, I'm going to block this person because he drives whatever, a Maserati. No. You just move on with your life, and also have the discipline, like, to know that, like, it's very hard, but to me, someone who communicates to me once in a while, I find that person genuine. But someone who calls me randomly, asking for money,
when they need something,
that is a red flag for me already. So I never, pay attention to that. But there's people who, like, you're having a conversation with, like, they check on you. You don't have to even call them, like,
Yeah.
This is a global world. WhatsApp is there. There's internet.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So even if someone is in the UK, Jamaica, you can actually call them and check on them,
Like,
I had so many of people, like, once you get a message, you're like, I know he wants money. He or she wants money. And then there's those ones whereby you talk to them, you're like, oh, and then you find yourself actually, even without them asking, you give them the money.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, I see. So yeah. Okay, let me see. Is it part of the display? And this is not, by the way, like a problem for being. It's not a problem like for being, say, outside Uganda. It also is a problem sometimes if you have relatives say in the village and you're in Kampala, you're hustling, and they, every now and again they have a problem. They'll be like, you guy, first send us some money. They fake like sickness. This one is sick, things like that, right? Is it like, do you just become like strong-hearted and be like, no, here and here, or do you come up with like a plan, be like, this guy, let him first ask 10 times before I can give him some money, things like that?
I would say America changed me to be strong-hearted. Sometimes you have to be like drastic in making decisions. Like, I'm not going to do it. Unfortunately, I used to be like a very soft person. Like, oh, send me this. There is someone who called me and is like, hey, our friend is in prison. We need to take him out. And I'm like, oh, how much? It's like 700,000. I'm like, okay. And I remember I hustled my way to get 700,000 to send it to Uganda. And then that friend who was in prison, I'm talking to him. I'm like, hey, well, what's up? What? No. I called another friend. Like, man, we had a house party, like a big one. I'm like, for who? Like, so the guy who was in prison is the one who hosted the party, but he used another person to call me of my money. And I'm like, that's when I became like, so strong about my finances. They have to have proper direction. I just don't spend money like that. So like I have a lot of money, but man, you work hard for your money. And if someone lies to you and takes it, it's a pain, big pain.
Yeah, no, that's true. I know someone who has a very clear algorithm. So if you call him the first time, depending on like how you relate, obviously. There are some people where they're lying, but usually if they're asking for money, it's probably they need it. And they just don't want to open up, but it's money you're willing to give, right? So there are some people where obviously the rules don't apply. Where you're like, if I have money, I'll give you. But then there are some people where you don't know. Sometimes someone can call you and they say, I want 50K, right? Yeah. And you have 50K. You're like, maybe I was going to buy some beers in this 50K, but this guy seems like he has a problem. This is something I can do. I can help him sort. Yeah. You're like, you know what? The other guy's algorithm is, first of all, split every ask in half or less. So if you ask me for like money I'm willing to give, like 50K, I'll be like, you man, the world is so bad, blah, 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 I'm 70 and whatnot. But I can fight for you 25. You first have to make sure you cry for the man and the man understands that the problem is very, very serious. Yeah. So you give him, I'll be like, I'll give you 25. And then he's like, hey, okay, thank you. Then you tell him, before you send the money, you tell him, but when will you pay back? And the importance, because you don't want him to pay back though, but the importance of making sure he knows that this is money owed, he will not ask again unless he has paid. So usually when you give him, you send him, okay, I've sent you the money. Or even after you've sent him, you're like, okay, what? Then you agree, okay, 25 zija kunyamba, zona zompadde yo. You send him the 25. Then after sending him, you call him, and you're like, hey, neka togenda kuzinziriza ddi. So now he knows. Yeah. This is a loan, right?
And if he doesn't pay, or whatever, he doesn't show any sense of urgency to pay, then he won't actually
he won't come back for money. Yeah. So that's a good thing.
That's a smart move.
So then that person is cleared, like usually. Yeah. But then there are people who come when they want you to give them money that's uncomfortable for you to give, even if you have. So someone can say, like, maybe 700 for me is very, very much. Like if someone asks me for 700K, I have to think about it for a week.
No, but it depends on what they've told you.
Yeah.
So he sold me the idea of like, man, I never believed in someone going to jail. So as soon as they told me, I'm like,
This is a jail thing.
I rushed. I'm like, this guy needs to go out,
Yeah.
Some people can tell you can craft good stories about.
I know.
And you actually fall for it.
I know.
There's another guy, and actually, you know him. He's like, I work in some organization, World Food Program, blah blah blah. Give me money. I'm stranded in whatever at the airport. I missed my flight. I gave him money. Like I sensed urgency, so I gave him money. Up to now. And I think we've talked about that, but that is history.
So in terms of like now your social life and relationships here, right? Yeah. So you're at university, you have all these friends, you guys go and party together.
Yeah.
And then you go to the US and now these financial things come in. And then you come back now and this guy, I refused to give him money once, or this guy gave him money and he didn't pay back. Mm-hmm. How does that like affect the friendships you keep?
It does really affect your friendships. But one thing that people need to pay attention to, the friends you meet as adults, usually there is some sort of, I don't know, maybe you have to be at a certain level in life for them to associate with you. And I've realized that. Yeah. But the friends that you've grown up with, like you, like when you were in Ginger College and you even don't know what you're going to become. Now those are real friends.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the finances, like for me, like America taught me more integrity. Like if I'm going to ask maybe for money, if I'm going to come to UK and like, hey, I need money, I'm going to be straightforward with you and say, man, I need money, but I'll not be in position to do what? To pay back. But I'm not going to come and lie to you and say, hey, give me what? A loan. And in my mind, I know I'm not going to pay it. Mm-hmm. And that's what most people do not realize. So even if it's a friend and you give them like maybe a big chunk of money, you could have used that money for something else, and they do not pay you back, your relationship will never be the same.
No, that's true.
Be it in America, it's not like a bank, where you get a credit card and swipe it and then leave the country, and they'll never you don't have a relationship with a bank,
Yeah.
So
I see,
with a friend it's different. But also it depends on your forgiveness, There's some things whereby like, you know what, I've let go of this. It will never work, and you just said that person. And you still maybe talk to them, but whenever people do things like that, they get ashamed. You find someone at a gathering and then
they distance themselves.
They distance themselves. They fear talking to you, So I never want to subject myself to things like that. Like, I don't have to go to that level of, where I see Ken because he gave me money. Then, either I'm going to say I'm sorry or whatever, kind of run away. No.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the last bit of this conversation.
Sure.
Brother. You're now a married man. I was very, very lucky to be one of the few people invited to witness you making the vows.
Yeah.
So now what does this mean? You don't go out to the bar anymore. You're a DJ, and DJs usually they're magnets. How is this affecting your life?
It hasn't affected me in any way, because even in the USA, I've actually DJed in half of the US, 25 out of 51 states. It hasn't affected me because my partner, before I committed, we dated for quite some time.
Yeah.
And whenever I used to go to, like, you go to another state, sometimes I could fly with her, but we built a lot of trust whereby sometimes I could go like California, New York, or whatever to go DJ, and I go alone and she's okay with that. So, it hasn't affected me in any way. It's just that in Uganda I haven't really gone out that much because I've been dealing with a lot of like things.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, moving into the country, it's a very big thing. Taking care of my parent, that is also a lot of distraction. So,
obviously.
And then also where I stay, when you think of like, let me go to this place in town, and then driving back at night, you're like, man. And then I also have this thing of like, man, there is nothing I haven't seen in the music world. I've DJed, I've seen it, so I don't have really that excitement to
Yeah. I see.
But once in a while, yes. I mean, we go out and
I see. Yeah.
And then as you grow up,
the
you
maturity
also change.
I'm
sure you don't. You don't party like how you used to party in Makerere University.
Yeah. I agree.
And also, when you go out, probably don't stay until late in the night. Like sometimes you're like.
But the other guy stays until 6 a.m.
No, me, I cannot handle that. And actually, even some guys were giving me gigs, and where I had to come back home at 6, I'm like, no. My life has moved to more like having peace versus being on a crash program. I'm a bit more laid back now.
Yeah, I see.
But when I was in high school, you know how I was.
Yeah.
High school, I was on the go. In Makerere University, I was on the go. I was the guy to go to get whatever coupons to go to Angelistic by then, whatever, And then, so...
Do you think it affects that's also a question. I've met many people, right, who are like, who partied a lot at campus, who partied a lot in high school, and now they're done. And then I've met a lot of people who are surprising me, who are very, very calm and honest. And everyone is honest. Okay, everyone would be honest. Doesn't matter. But who are very calm and very, predictable. The people who don't make plans at university. And now, they're the guys if you go out, say, once a month, you go to the bar, you find him. You go to the bar, you find him. You're like, hey, man, are you going out every day? Go out or are you going out every day?
It's called, is it?
There's a
midlife crisis? No, not.
Is it fixation? There's also one.
You're fixated. Like I've told you, like me, there is not someone is not going to tell me, hey, you come to whatever, to Fort Portal. There is this thing, and then I'm all hyped up, just like we used to do. We used to go to Nkozi.
Yeah.
We go to Jinja. You go to Mbarara. Just what? To party. But right now, no. But I leave that stage. And I did it all. Right now, it's more like, boss, slow down. Yeah. So I did it in Makerere and then in the USA. Really, and I don't know what can really make someone convince me to actually drive unless it's like a wedding. But someone telling me there is a disco here and then I'm excited now. It never happens.
I see. Okay. So right now, what do you consider to be your ultimate form of having fun?
I play a lot of video games.
Okay. I see.
I play a lot of video games, and then my fun is more like going to. I've come to. Now I look at nature as something that relaxes me. For fun, video games definitely.
You're just getting old, man. You can't look at birds.
Yeah, I can go to a lake and just chill there.
Okay, yeah. I see. Oh yeah, no, that's.
I'm not getting old, but I don't know. You can't party forever.
Yeah.
You find someone, they're 50 years and then they want to act like they're 18. You can't.
There used to be that old man who used to be in old bars.
Yeah, the guy with the hat.
Yeah.
I look. So now a guy like that maybe missed a stage of his life. So now he thinks he can do. You have 60 years and you feel like you can somersault. You're going to break your neck. Things like that. So.
All right, Buzz.
But it hasn't affected me in any way, and my partner is the calm version of me. So there is a way, as you stay with a person, you learn some of their traits. You tend to become like them.
Yeah.
I never used to think I could stay in a house the whole day.
I see.
I had to find something to do, either just drive around, or I could never. But now. You can find me at my house and I'm sitting, just chilling.
Yeah,
it's peaceful.
I see. That's right. I also do that more often nowadays than any other time.
Or sometimes I go to my man's cave. Yeah, that's where all my virtual machines are. Now there I can spend a whole weekend just doing stuff, reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like right now, Kali Linux has released a new version with more hacking tools. So now that brings me excitement. Now I'm going to sit in a lab. I'm like, what? This
Try to
tool
get
do?
familiar. I see. Oh yeah. No, that's interesting. This was a very nice conversation, Denis. Yeah.
Thanks for hosting me.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for accepting our invite. This was quite interesting. Yeah.